sometimes an uncomfortable story, a sad story, is a real tribute to all of you, each and every one of you. Thank you. I'd also like to thank the Women's Beit Midrash and Perry and Jerry? Johnny, I was close. Okay. For opening up their home and making this possible. Lastly, I want to thank Hashem for giving me the strength to be a voice for all my relatives who perished. Both of my parents were Polish survivors who between them lost 150, maybe more relatives. They both came from large religious families. People had a lot of children. Now the information that I have came mostly from my own research, as well as bits and pieces I gleaned from a few surviving relatives. It was always bits and pieces. A little frustrating, but that's the way it was. My father never spoke to me about his experiences because he didn't want to grow up. He didn't want me to grow up with the pain of the Shoah. My mother spoke very little about her experiences for the same reason, but every once in a while she would tell me about her pain of surviving while her siblings did not. The dynamics of the home in which I was an only child was that I never asked questions because I didn't want to give them any pain. But the Shoah was in the air in our home, in the very air we breathe. All their friends were Polish survivors, and they understood each other and they could share thoughts and commemorate together. Yiddish was the language in my home, and sometimes I would overhear them speaking with their friends, and I understood perfectly. It was not exactly developmentally correct for my age as a child, but that's what it was. I can say in all certainty that my family, as many others, so many others, thousands, went through our own Mitzrayim experience. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in his mercy, chose to keep my parents alive. And it was totally, totally miraculous that they survived. I will begin with my mother's history. My mother, Rivka, was from a small town near Lodz called Yelm. There were about 7,000 Jews who resided there. The Jews leased land from the Polish Gentiles to establish their lovely orchards and gardens. Now, again, this is little bits and pieces I have. My mother was the youngest of 5 children, born to Yitzhak and Kreindel Kmura. She was born when her mother was 40, and her siblings were all married with large families. My grandparents were very religious, and so were their offspring. She had 3 brothers, David Laser, Zalman, and Banish. Her sister Chana alone had 9 children, 5 boys, 4 girls, of which of the 9, 2 survived. 2 of my mother's nephews survived. One of her brothers was a chassan, one a painter, one an artist. They each had their individual talents. Let's see. None of my mom's siblings survived, probably being gassed into Blinka. Please keep in mind again that to gather the bits of information took years and years for me in my adult life, trying to piece together the family I came from. Life in the shtetl was simple, my mother said. Hard, poor, but my mom always said that life was pleasant because and families were extremely close-knit. My grandfather, oh, by the way, I only have one picture. I have no pictures of my grandmothers, which always bothered me. But this is somehow this survived. My mother's brother, Salman, who was a Khazan, and his wife, they did not survive, but it's a beautiful picture. My mother's father was Yitzhak, and he grew fruits and vegetables. And in the summers, he grew blueberries and sold them. People called him Ichu for short, and he was very active in Jewish organizations. He was very active in his shul. He was about tefillah. The youth, my mother said, in the shtetl had a nice social life. School ended in 7th grade for her, and the youth then worked for their parents seeking out a living. The family had one loaf of bread to share each day. And they had a chicken. If they had a chicken for Shabbos, it was a Mazel Tov Shabbos. Despite the poverty, everyone helped each other, she said, and the chesed was incredible. People were satisfied with their lives. Okay. My mother Rivka went to a Mizrahi type school, and she told me the class sang Hatikva every morning, and there was a picture of Herzl and an Israeli flag in their classroom. How awesome that it is. Here we are living in Israel, Medinat Israel, and they could only dream about it. It was just a faraway dream for them. My mom loved school and was the best in her class in math and handwriting. She trained to become a seamstress. Her father, Yitzhak, was actually my father's uncle. Yes, my mother and father were first cousins, which was common. My father lived in a nearby town, Papianetza, and she often visited him